Hey, everybody. So, this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. So, if you saw in the description and you know what the topic is today, it's about the story that's gone completely viral saying that there is a serial kidnapper of children in the state of Virginia. And I thought that was insane. How many kids could go missing like that where we're not hearing about this on a more national level? Because the person who broke the story is a TikTok person who has been debunked by several people saying she's not a real journalist. She's just throwing stuff out there to see, get people all revved up. And then the state of police have debunked all of this. So let's talk about how many kids have gone missing so we can get the timeline right. Because she's saying it's like, I don't want to misquote her. So give me 1 second. Um, Putting in the query so we can get the most up-to-date information because it does kind of fluctuate, to be honest with you. So I'm asking it now, how many kids have been missing in Virginia since July 1st of this year? Because she was doing it like in a 2-week time form. So according to the database I'm looking at, from January 1st of this year to August 12th, which was today is the 15th, I think, or whatever. So, but it's saying from January 1st to August 12th, 2025, a total of 3,245 kids have been reported missing to the Virginia Missing Children Clearinghouse. Of these, approximately 149, about 4%, remain missing as of August 12th, 2025. So if you look at that big number, 3,245, and of these, approximately 4% remain missing as of August 12th. So a good many of them have been recovered or it's been figured out. For the week of August 3rd through 9th of this year, 88 children were reported missing, which is below the 2025 weekly average of 98 missing children in Virginia a week. Let's look at this. Yes, from January until August 12th, they had over 3,000 kids missing. And they're saying for the week of August 3rd through 9th, 88 kids were reported missing. And they said that's below the average. And the average is 98 kids a week go missing or are reported missing. Wow. And this is the whole state of Virginia. Now, it does say here that data on missing children in Virginia since July 1st of this year is limited and primarily drawn from recent reports addressing viral social media claims. But according to the Virginia State Police, the VSP, there is no evidence of mass abductions or an unusual spike in missing children cases despite social media posts claiming otherwise. But here are the key points based on the available information. So this is what they're saying. They're saying from January this year to August 12th, which was a couple days ago, over 3,000 kids have been reported missing. But of those 3,000, let's see, of these approximately 149, about 4% remain missing on August 12th, 2025. Now, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported 34 missing children cases in Virginia from August 1st to August 15th. And then from August 2nd to August 11th, there were 129 missing child reports, with 16 still missing as of the latest update. So most missing children cases are attributed to runaways. Now, I will say this. When you report mostly a teenager missing, you hear a lot from the police saying they probably are out with friends. They're probably out screwing around. Did you have a fight? Are you arguing? These kind of things. Because authorities tend to lean on the kid left on their own. And I wish they would stop doing that. Because, yeah, maybe the kid has taken off on their own before. But what if this one time they didn't? What if they met somebody online and they lured them out? What if they met somebody, at the mall and they lured them out? I mean, there's so many things that could have happened, and you can't just trust anybody anymore, Um, I like in the case to, oh, what is her name? Let me see. Case. This one just got resolved here recently. Um, let's see, waiting for it to give me the information I need. But there was a case of a girl, and she was, let's see, okay, they're giving me North Carolina, Virginia, which is not who I need. Wait, there was a case of a girl, and I can't think of her name right now. I want to say they were in New Mexico, maybe. Hello. And she was 14, and she is on the autism spectrum. Didn't have a whole lot of friends, very happy kid, very happy home life, but she met somebody online, and this person convinced her to leave. And then one day she was just gone. And this went on. She was missing for a good 4 or 5 years. And then one day she walks into a police station in Montana to say, I'm not missing. I left of my own accord and I've been with this guy all this time. But the problem was the guy was like in his 40s. Now, granted, she was 18. She was an adult when she reported herself as not missing. But the fact is, when she went missing, she was a minor. And that's a huge problem. So you've got cases like that. Not saying like that's the norm, but I do wonder how more common that is, because you do hear about these stories of teenage girls leaving. And then you find out that they've taken up with some older guy that they met online in a chat room or whatever, and they're 5 states away and they don't want to come home. So, yeah, they did leave of their own accord, but they're minors and they've left with somebody who's way too old for them. That happens. So, like I said, Virginia, like someone is really trying to start a conspiracy theory here that there's some serial kidnapper running around Virginia just grabbing kids at random. And because the children that are missing, there's no um, criteria, there's no profile of what this person likes. It's not Black children or Native American children or Hispanic children or boys, only boys or only girls or white kids, or it's there's no pattern to any of this. Hello. Um, but you do hear about this. Like I say, kids leave and they, yes, crazy, mentally ill world, crazy people. Yes, I understand, Junior. Thank you for joining in the comment. But when you dive deep into these cases, you do hear about kids who just went missing and you never hear about them. Um, and it says here that social media platforms like TikTok have claimed between 50 to 87 children have been missing since July 1st. That's a crazy number. But again, I'm thinking it's a crazy number until the average I find out is 98 kids a week. So, there's that. But like I said, the state police have, in their public comments, have debunked this completely. And I was curious. I was like, because I'm in North Carolina, and I'm like, what? I wonder what the rate of North Carolina missing children is in the same time frame. How many kids reported? They gave it the same time frame. All right. So while we wait for them to give me the info. Hello. Oh, you're sending a message from Indonesia. Nice to meet you. So, okay. So we're going to look at for North Carolina because I'm here. So I'm going to jump onto this one. Now it does say here to determine the number of children missing reported in North Carolina. I don't know if they're actually getting kidnapped, Junior. Junior made the comment, yes, I heard the news about kids getting kidnapped. We don't know if that's actually the case. Oh, hey, Daly, how are you doing? Thanks for finding me again. You could find me easier if you subscribe. Just throw that out there. So those of you that are new to the channel, I talk about crime cases, current, present, old, whatever, historical. And I will say this. If you want to keep getting these videos, you got to subscribe. You got to put that alert on there. You got to like, you got to comment, you got to do all these things because it doesn't cost anything and it just helps the algorithm for you to get more content like this. So as of August 10th, They're saying that the list of specific missing children cases been filtering. Like we've got, I'm looking at Micah Alward, he's one, missing since July 23rd. Rosemary Wilt, age one, missing from Macon County, July 7th. Robin Wilt, one, missing from Macon County. Zachary Lawson, age six. So you got a few. And let me see, we get down from the list here. It says, okay, so based on the NCCMP repository and additional sources, at least 48 children were reported missing in North Carolina from July 1st to August 15th. This number is derived from specific cases listed within reported dates in the given period. However, an estimated based on 2024's average daily rate suggests up to 1,104 children could have been reported missing, though this is likely an overestimation due to incomplete data and seasonal variations. Hello, my Daily. So Daily has asked the question, did you hear about the teenager that was found in a river from Elyria, Ohio? No, I have not heard about that case. It seems like we've had a few pop up here lately. Jaden Spicer out of Kentucky. Unfortunately, I found out that poor child is a distant relative of mine. My mother's father's family's from that county, Breathitt County, and the Spicers are, as she would say, they are kin to us. So, that's just very sad, that case. But there's been a few kids, reported missing. I get emails and messages on Facebook, which, by the way, if you try to message me on my Facebook page, Rebecca Ingram Red True Crime, I am locked out of it right now. So if you need to message me, and give me ideas on cases, because I would love to hear any ideas you all have on cases or things I should talk about. You can message me on here on YouTube, or you can email me at redtruecrime@gmail.com. So yeah, it's like it's hard to keep up with these cases, because if you take like a case like let's see, how many children nationally reported missing in the same time frame, July 1st, present. See what that number is. Okay, goodness. Okay, so my daily's giving me a little bit of a rundown of what he had asked me. His name was Vincent. He was from my high school. He was hanging out with a 24-year-old's named Jacob, drinking, and they were trying to find out if Vincent was murdered. He fell into the river. Okay, so my daily, is this my question on this? Is this a more recent case, or is this an old case that's that they're finally finding an answer to? And Eddie, hi, thanks for tuning in. So, according to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the NCMEC, and the FBI's National Crime Information Center, the NCIC. Oh, okay. Thank you. So my daily just said, yeah, it's recent and that's being investigated. I will look into that, because I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, and Elyria, way north of where I grew up. But I do like to look into the Ohio cases. So, according to the annual missing children statistics we have here, approximately 360,000 children are reported missing annually in the United States. Some sources suggest the actual number, including unreported cases, could be closer to 2 million, but this figure is less reliable and not specific to official reports. Now, let me say that when the immigration issue has been coming up, especially it was brought up a lot during this past election, you found out there were children being brought in from Mexico and from South, Latin America, and being given just to random people saying, "Oh yeah, I will take that kid that they're related to me," and we don't know where those kids are. Okay. Wow, that's crazy. My daily just said Vincent was underage drinking at the age of 16, and they are trying to figure out if Jacob killed him, because Jacob is being charged with tampering with evidence for changing his clothes and evidence before calling the cops for Vincent. Yeah, I agree. That wow. Okay. That is very suspicious for that guy to do that. So, like I said, email me if you can, my daily at redtruecrime at gmail with that, and I'll be more than glad to talk about this. Oh, it doesn't have to convince it was a drug dealer at my school, so it could be something with it. Okay. All right, my daily, I will look into it, and do like a report on it. But yeah, just send me what you can in email. That'd be great. So, yeah, so what this means is, using the conservative NCIC figure of 360 children per year, this translates to an average of about 986 children reporting per day. 986 kids missing per day. Oh, hi, Eddie. You're from Indonesia. That's nice to know. And that's insane to even think about that. Um, in 2021, the missing person cases, including adults, was 521,705, with 485,000 resolved within the year. So you got to you see these huge numbers, but you don't see what, a lot of the times they don't talk about at the end of the year what has been resolved, what has been investigated, what has been fixed. You don't see that because they want to give you that shock and awe value, like, oh my God, we've got serial killers and serial kidnappers running loose in the states and the country. Lock down your families, which probably should anyway. But and it just says, adjusting for juvenile proportion, it says 60 to 70% of total missing persons cases based on the North Carolina 2024 ratio, 61% juveniles, and assuming total missing persons reports align with 2021, approximately 1,400 per day. The juvenile portion would be about 857 to 1,000 children per day that go missing. Right. And Junior just commented, most of the cases with kids disappearing are kids with parents divorced or separated. And I would agree with that because I think the other thing is too, you've got so many kids who disappear that are in the system, in the social services system. And then you find out, well, then we give them back to dad. Well, dad's like, no, they're with the mom. And then nobody knows where any of these kids are. And then you find out 5 years later this kid's been dead in a duffel bag stuffed up in a ceiling. That actually happened in a case. So it was Oakley. Oakley, little girl, father beat her to death, stuffed her in a duffel bag, and then they were homeless. So when they get into shelters, he would actually put the duffel bag up in a ceiling. And that was like that for years. Yeah, crazy, crazy case. He got life. I think the stepmom got life as well as they should. Um, I can't remember Oakley's last name. Her first name was Oakley Adams, maybe, but don't quote me on the last name. But you know, when it comes to missing children, especially teenagers, you don't get accurate data because you don't know. Sometimes kids disappear and nobody reports them, which is sad. I couldn't tell you how many teenagers that are listed on the Greensboro missing person cases. There's no pictures, none. They have a basic general report, but no photo of what this kid looked like. So how are we supposed to be looking and keeping our eyes out for people if we don't know what they look like? I've said that before. That's here in Greensboro. I can't, I don't know about New York or Florida or California or the Midwest. I can't speak to any of that. I can only speak to what I physically have seen myself in our databases here. And it's that we have to do better. We really have to do better. I mean, the system is broken. No matter what system we're talking about, it's broken. The education system is broken. Social services is broken. Government systems are broken. You have a lot of single parent households, and the parent now has to work 2 and 3 jobs to make sure there's a roof over their head, food, clothes, all that stuff. When I was growing up, I had both my parents, you know, um, and my sister still ended up a drug dealer, not drug dealer, drug abuser, and we had both parents, and my siblings, they got whatever they wanted. I got whatever I wanted, you know, but that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes people are just predisposed to make bad choices. And these kids, I've noticed a lot of these kids are thinking, I don't, I think they think that they're grown, but I think the reason they think they're grown is because they're being put in a position to act like a grown up. Because a lot of these kids, you say they're 14, 15 years old now, and they're responsible for taking care of younger siblings. That's a lot of pressure. So, like, well, yeah, I can raise your kid, but I can't go hang out with the dude down the street and smoke a joint. What's going on? So you run into that situation where kids are being forced to act older before they're ready to act older. And then they make decisions like, well, I don't want to listen to you. I'm going to go do what I want to do. You see a lot of that. I think that's a lot of this problem. And then unfortunately, these children get caught up in God knows what or meet the wrong person and it just ends badly. Wow. I believe that. So Junior just said, my brother-in-law is a state trooper, and he said there's a lot of cases not even showing in the news. I would completely believe that. And that really comes down to, and that's been a speculation. Like, are we not hearing about a lot of these cases because they are people of color? You hear about indigenous women going missing, especially young girls, black women, black teenagers going missing, and you don't hear about it. Or you hear about some, but not all. Why is that? Because no matter who you are that goes missing, you need to be looking for 'em. But can't some families not allow their case to be put out? That is from My Daily. Um, yes and no. Um, they reach out to detectives, they have to file a missing person report. It does have to get investigated. I mean, the families can go to the news media and have it reported. The cops aren't going to do that. But, you know, um, I'll give you a good case in point. Marissa Carmichael, 25-year-old woman with 5 kids who went missing January 14th, 2024 from an Exxon gas station in Greensboro, North Carolina. Only reason I even started this channel was because of that case. It just made me feel a certain type of way. Her mother was on everything. I mean, every social media site, anybody talking to the news, did everything she could to find her child. Amber Shelton, another missing woman, she went missing December 9th, 2024. And you heard a little bit about it on social media. Her friends are putting it out there, but the girl's mother and sister did not talk to the news media. But they did talk to the police, but they just did not want to give interviews. They did not want to talk about anybody, um, or talk to anybody. But the only reason I got involved in that case is because the friends were looking for, and they wanted to get the information out there. In fact, unfortunately, Amber Shelton was found deceased about 3 months later in a park not far from where I live. And her case has been ruled as self deletion. I don't believe that. Her friends don't believe that. There's too many outside factors that are not coming in there. What is the best way to learn English? This is from Ahmad. Uh, Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I was born able to speak English, so I don't know. Um, I don't know, like Babbel. I think I hear a lot about that website. So that's, two different situations there. Police were notified, police said they're investigating. Marissa Carmichael is still missing as of this day. Amber Shelton's case has been closed and called a self deletion. Wow. Okay. So My Daily just asked the question, have you ever heard of a case and come up with theories and you ended up predicting or guessing outcomes of or what happened? Okay. So Amber Shelton, I was pretty convinced that she was already not living anymore when I heard about the case, when I heard what was going on, because let me give you a rundown on the case. She left her apartment on December 9th, left her wallet, left her phone, and left an uncashed check of $1,200. Now, she was in a relationship with a woman who also was married to a man and still in that marriage. Things were not going very well. between the two of them. And Amber was about to lose her apartment. She was getting evicted, but she also got a promotion at work. So, things were not dire per se. She also had the opportunity to move to Virginia and live with a friend and restart her life, but the girlfriend didn't want her to do that. Here's what ticks me off. And her friends came to me about this. And we talked about it. We theorized. We looked up some stuff. I'm like, I think Amber's gone because Amber didn't know a car. And I said, I think she's gone. They didn't want to believe she was gone. They thought she was being held somewhere, but she was dead. So when they found her body 3 months later, we had had some massive storms. And the park where she was found is an arboretum. So there's bridges, there's little like creek beds, and parts of the creek bed can be a little bit deeper, but it's creek beds. The theory is from the police, she shot herself and the gun stayed in the area, very open, very public area, just laying there on the ground for 3 months, laid there, and then her body rolled back into the creek and got kind of like wedged. And then we had these really bad rainstorms a few months later, and it pushed her body up to come out under the bridge, where when she was eventually seen by a jogger. Now, I predicted that she was already gone. I still say she was murdered. That's my opinion. The evidence to me points to that. I got a copy of her autopsy report. I'm thinking if you're going to hurt yourself and you have a gun, you're going to shoot my opinion, and again, I could be wrong on this, and I've looked this up. So generally when people self hurt themselves, they shoot themselves in the mouth, under the chin, or against the temple, depending if you're right or left handed. Amber Shelton's bullet wound was in the torso. Yeah, torso. So here on a downward trajectory here and came out her back. But the autopsy said her body was so decomposed, they couldn't tell which wound in the front or the back was the entrance and which one was the exit. Either way, if you're hurting yourself, you're not shooting yourself like this. You're just not. So that's why I say there's more to that case than what Greensboro PD wants to say, and they rolled it as a self-harm case and called it a day. And what ticks me off even more, Amber Shelton is female, she's black, and she's gay. And I think that's why they didn't even bother. And that's not fair. So my daily said yes, definitely, because I don't think relationship problems would drive you to self-deletion, but it could, I guess. So there's that. So yeah, in that case, I don't believe she hurt herself. And then he just asked, have you ever researched prisons? Actually, I have not. That is something I have considered. I have reached out to a few prisoners in different prisons around the country to see if they would talk to me, and I've not gotten a response back from any of them. But one person I reached out to was Tyler Shrout. Now, those of you who don't know who he is, he was kind of a precursor to the school shooter. The only difference is he murdered his family, his parents and his two siblings, and then went to his high school trig class and held them up hostage until the cops got there. So he didn't kill anybody there. He's the same age as me. He was a junior at a local high school not far from where I went to school. And my senior year, we actually took a tour of the prison or the jail where he was, and we actually saw him. So it was crazy. Okay. So being given a suggestion that I should research the West Virginia State Penitentiary because it's known as one of the most dangerous prisons in the United States. That I did not know. Usually, when I hear about dangerous prisons, I hear about the farm in Louisiana. That's like one, and wherever the hell um, Diddy was being held in Manhattan. That's apparently another really bad one too. So that's another line I can get into. I can look into those. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Um, but for missing children, though, I would love for us to be more accurate. I would love the police to actually do their job and investigate, because you cannot have these kids out there running abandoned. You just can't. And I just don't understand why that keeps happening. I don't get it at all. Ah, yeah. So other cases. So let's see, that's crazy one of RD Wall. Okay, I'll have to look into that one. My daily suggested that. Junior. I feel like surveillance cameras in isolated areas would be a big help for criminologists. Yeah, that would make sense. I would like that too. And then my daily, I've been writing and researching the penitentiary. Okay. So are you a criminal justice major in college? My daily? Like I said, there are so many cases that would be solved, like Epstein. Was it suicide or was it murder? You know, everybody has an opinion on that. Everybody has an opinion on that. And then you have R. Kelly's recent uh, issue in prison where he was taken to a hospital because of blood clots and he was poisoned and all that stuff. And he's saying the Aryan Nation's out to get him. And he's actually located in a prison here in North Carolina. Oh, okay. So you're a high schooler. Okay. So my daily's a high schooler, and he and his mom are very interested in these stories. Well, that's good to know. I've been trying to find a partner to go back and forth with, to do dialogue, but I can't get my kids involved in it because they don't like crime, and they think I'm making a fool of myself here. It is what it is. But like I was saying before, uh, more has to be done about this because we need more oversight. Because you keep hearing the police like, oh, we're understaffed and overworked, but all your detectives only work 8 to 5. It would be lovely if crime only happened between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but that doesn't work like that. You know, I had a situation where I felt my life was in danger and I had called to get help, and they're like, someone will get back to you in 3 days. Really? Okay. So, these are the things you deal with here in North Carolina. Nobody seems to give a damn about what's happening to everybody else. And every day I'm getting reports of shots fired, kids getting killed. We've had two teenagers over the last month that have been found dead. Chance Jenkins, unfortunately, that poor kid was found in Randolph County. And then you had Promise Quick, 15-year-old that was killed in McLeansville. Seems like it was under some nefarious circumstances with her too, but she was 15 years old. Some say, oh, she was out there messing with those older boys. I don't care. She's 15 and she didn't deserve to die. So that's unfortunate right there. And then, like, I go back to Marissa Carmichael. She's still missing, and there's been no update on her case. They've changed detectives on it, which I felt that was going to happen at some point, and nothing, absolutely nothing. There were 5 women that went missing in Winston-Salem a few months back. I call them the Winston Five because they all went missing in the same like 24 hours. One of them has come back. The other 4 not been talked about. No idea if they've been found. Not a clue. Nobody says anything. Um, and then we've got like I said, for transparency, we don't know why anybody does half the stuff that they're doing. None of it. We don't know. You know, I don't know. Like I said, you've got the guy in Idaho that's just now been given like life in prison, and we don't know his true motive for why he did what he did to those 4 college kids. We don't know. You know, is it mental illness? Is it like you're just a psychopath? Who knows? There's so much that can be learned from the criminal mind, but it takes time, it takes money. And I know the FBI was doing it for a long time, but they more than likely have lost funding to do to continue doing that. Because a lot of beliefs we have about severe mental disease has come from the behavioral analysis unit of the FBI that has gone in since the 70s and has been interviewing serial killers since then to build up that database. So I know people are like, oh, okay, she's talking about criminal minds. No, I'm not talking about criminal minds. Like that department does truly exist, and people like that do exist, and they do that research and they talk about these things. They learn these things because there is a no two serial killers are alike per se, or perpetrators, I should say, but you do find a pattern of behavior, a very basic pattern that kind of leads you down the road of where you need to go. You do see that. Everything, behavior is pattern. Behavior is always pattern. That's something I have noticed myself. So, but yeah, like I said, I've been on here for a little while. So I'm going to hop off here. But I wanted to go on record and say the TikToker that said we've got a serial kidnapper running around Virginia is not true. The state police, the FBI, everybody has debunked her. You know, more power to you trying to get some clout chasing, but I don't think that's the way you should have done that. And it's not true. Unfortunately, we do have kids that are missing, and they're going to continue to be missing until people investigate and do what they need to do. But I will say this, if you are a parent that has taken your child away from an ass or going against a visitation agreement, you got to stop doing that. Parents go crazy. Parents go crazy. I've actually seen somebody that I know and I care about deeply that has gone through that himself. And he's not a bad person, but his ex wanted to make him hurt. And that doesn't solve anything on that. It just breeds contempt and anger and resentment. And it's just not a way to do it. It's just not. So, all right, I am gonna get off here. But again, like I said, it's Rebecca with Red True Crime. As I always say, be weird, be rude, be safe. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. Share, like, comment. Doesn't cost anything, and it helps YouTube's algorithm get you guys more stories like that. And just make sure you click the little bell so you get notified when more stories come on. And yeah, that's all I got. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for the support. And I'll be back as soon as I can when I have something else I got to talk about crime wise. Oh, also be on the lookout. I have started a new channel. It needs a little bit more support. I don't have any really subscribers for it yet. I've only done one story. Oh, well, thank you, Junior. Junior, I appreciate that. I am doing another channel. It's all about history. It's basically you're taking facts of history that people think are correct and they're not, and I'm going through and debunking the most misunderstood facts of history. Because those of you who don't know me that have followed me or just started following me, what I do is I work in history. I am a historical document preservationist. I take documents from 300 years ago, well, 250 years ago, sometimes 200 years ago, sometimes 50 years ago, and I clean them and I fix them and I restore them and I give them back to the people who gave them to me. So, um, so I've always had a fascination in history. This is what I do during the day. So look for my channel. I know history, or do I? And it's on here on YouTube. And I'd love the support on that as well. I just did a video called The Story of the Two John Hansons. It's about the founding father and the possible first Black president. Very interesting watch. It's only about 10 minutes. And then the next thing I'm working on is a debunking of some of the mistaken facts that people believe of the Salem witch trials. That's going to be the next one that I'll be putting out there. So, okay. All right, guys. Sorry, I've been babbling on. So, good night. Thank you again for tuning in. Have a great night. Have a great weekend and be safe. Or as I say, be weird, be rude, be safe.